Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited that you're here today because I have a very, very special guest with me, my friend and colleague, Dr. Taylor Damiani, and she is a psychologist and a narcissistic abuse recovery coach. And she is the creator of the program Reclaim You, which is healing as adult children of narcissistic parents. Thank you for being here, Taylor.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Me too. Because wow, but like I said before we jumped on, we have a lot to talk about, but we're going to try to keep it short for all of you today and just really hit some main topics. But I think what I'd like to start with, actually, Taylor, is just because everyone always wants to know this, but can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in this field and why you created this program?
Yeah, I love hearing when other people's stories about this. So I'll definitely share with you. So I myself started my healing journey. Well, I say that I officially started it in 2014, but it was well before then. But I'll start at 2014 when I stumbled across Daniel Morgan's website called daughtersofnarcissisticmothers.com. And it was at a time where I was really, really deeply wondering and grappling about my relationship with my mother. And anyway, I stumbled across that website, read it in one night. It completely blew my mind. And all the puzzle pieces started falling into place. Before that, though, I grew up as a parentified child, as the peacemaker, the giver, the fixer, the caretaker in my family system, and was just used to kind of playing the role of family therapist, navigating the family dynamic, making sure there was peace, and trying my best to make sure there was peace. And so by the time I got to Daniel Morgan's website, I knew that there was something, I knew about all of the dynamics and that something was off. I just didn't have the language for it. And she put the label to it, narcissism. And oh my gosh, it just all fell into place for me. And so since then, I had been learning, researching, like many people go through when they go through, their healing journey. There is a big phase, at least there was for me, of doing a lot of research and reading. And at that time I was in grad school, so I was learning about how to counsel and help other people, but also I was doing it for myself. And when I graduated, without hesitation, I knew I wanted to do private practice, and without any hesitation, I knew that this is the population I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with people who had grown up similar to a situation that I had been in and help them. And so I just wrote a group curriculum of what I would have needed / still needed, and put together a group. And now here I am running groups for adult children of narcissistic parents. And I love it. And I get so much out of it personally. I learn so much from the brilliant clients that I get to meet. And that's what I'm doing now.
Oh my!
That's how I met you.
I love that, and we're always on the journey with our clients and our students, right? Because we're always still on a different level of healing, but we're healing, and then the people are a few steps behind us. We come along, we'll help you with your healing. We're kind of all going together.
Totally. Yeah. I personally believe, I don't know about you, but I personally believe healing is a lifelong journey. And I feel just so privileged. Every single group meeting I have, clients say things and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just brilliant. And then it helps me to phrase things differently for future clients that I have. And it helps me personally. So we're all that's the beauty and magic of a group. We're all just helping each other, and the collective wisdom is just shared. And that's been a really special thing that I've been able to just be a part of. So I'm really grateful for that.
I'm also really interested too, because you are also a psychologist, so you're a mental health professional and a coach. And I know a lot of people in my audience, some of them might be mental health professionals. Many of them are coaches. And sometimes I think there can be a lot of, I don't know what to say, like there could be a lot of confusion,
Yeah.
two things. And also I found there are many mental health professionals that have like no clue, honestly, about what it really means to have a parent or to heal from. What's your take on that, if you don't mind?
Oh man, I'm sure we could talk about this for ages, and there's so many opinions out there. I try to hold everything with flexibility. Like, just because someone has a degree in mental health, a PhD, a PsyD, a master's degree, whatever, doesn't mean that they're necessarily a great fit or know about narcissistic abuse recovery. And with coaching, even though I think, a big criticism that I hear about coaching from the psychology world is, oh, well, it's not regulated and anyone can wake up and become a coach tomorrow. But there's so many wonderful coaches out there. I come from it from a lens of, you know what, everyone has their own lived experience. And usually the people who are doing narcissistic recovery work have all lived it.
Right.
Not only are people going into this work because for kicks and giggles, everyone has probably lived it. And I think that, in my humble opinion, I think that's one of the most important aspects, is that you can really relate and understand to people. Yeah, I think having good training is important too. But I think, whether you're a coach or a mental health professional, you can get good training out there.
Yeah. Do you think, because I also think, this is my perspective, is that it is it would be difficult to help someone with this unless you've actually gone through it yourself. And again, like, I like to be flexible in my opinion too, but I still kind of like, I don't see how anyone who hasn't been through it or just like is aware they've been through it, help someone else to do this.
I agree.
Not to say that counseling can't help on a level, but speaking to the level, like your niche is so specific. Like, I thought I had like a really specific niche. But like, not only are you helping people with narcissistic abuse recovery, but specifically adult children, and that's like a set of a niche, What are the special kind of nuances of being an adult child of a narcissist versus, say, maybe like a romantic partner, or like there's just so many aspects to the nuances of that.
Yeah. I think the main thing that really stands out to me is that this is something that is, you are born into this family system, and this is your upbringing. This is your programming. This is your conditioning typically from birth, which is very different than, say, entering into a narcissistic relationship in adulthood. It's different. It's I guess akin to having complex trauma. It's something that you grow up with on a regular daily basis, which is different than, I think, having a relationship with a narcissistic person, at a certain point in your life. You grow up with, it impacts everything, your attachment style, how you see yourself, how you see other people, how you see the world. And if that's your programming, that's very different, I think. So that's one of the main differences. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I mean, I think so too, because like, I don't know if you know Melanie Tanya Evans. She's like a big name, right? I love her. And that's actually the person that really I started, like, I took her course something back when I was in the research mode, and I found her.
Oh, cool.
But the funny thing is that, she actually shares like her story. She doesn't have narcissistic parents, but she explains how just the dynamics in her own family set her up to be vulnerable to narcissistic relationships. That I do think there is a difference in the recovery process. Like, I agree with you, because it's not to say a person that can't still have childhood trauma even if they don't have a narcissistic family system, right?
Right.
Set them up to have patterns that make them vulnerable to these toxic relationships. But there is definitely something very distinct about healing from a narcissistic family system that I think, thank God, if you didn't have a narcissistic family system, good. That's good. So sad for you.
The thing that I hear from so many of my clients is, I didn't realize this wasn't normal. Because if you grow up, it's like a fish in a fishbowl that says, what's water? If you grow up in a narcissistic family household, that's what your normal is. You don't know what healthy family dynamics look like. So it might take you decades to recognize that this is what you're dealing with, that you have a toxic or dysfunctional or narcissistic family dynamic going on, because how else would you know otherwise?
Right.
This is the family upbringing you were given. So whereas if you grow up in a maybe more functional household and then enter into a narcissistic relationship, you might have the wherewithal to say, well, this isn't healthy, or something's off about this. This isn't how my family modeled things for me.
Right.
So that's
yes, I know, because I do have clients that, like, they fit that bill. Like, they had a pretty healthy, like a more healthy, functional family system. Relationship with their parents are good. And then they end up in a narcissistic relationship in adulthood. And they know from the start, like, something is really off. But so they have an awareness of it. It's just maybe it takes them a long time to identify it, and then like actually take action and like leave the relationship or have boundaries in the relationship. But I think you're right. It's true. It's like, we don't know it's not normal. Even if, I think maybe as we grow up, maybe there's signs that but because we've been gaslit for so long, constantly doubting our instincts that something's off. It's, one day maybe like somebody's like, that's weird, like that your family's like that, or, that's a strange way, or you hear someone talk about the way their mother was with something, or and you're like, really?
Sure.
Yes. And so when someone finally like points out to you that doesn't sound right, and then you go,
yeah. Yes, I totally resonate with that. I remember going to college and hearing, there's a specific incident where I remember, like, we were sitting on our dorm beds and someone was talking about their parents' relationship and how loving they were, and how she was saying, if her mom had to go somewhere for one day and her dad couldn't possibly be away from her mom for even one night. And so he went and he left the next day to be with her mom. And I thought, it blew my mind. I was like, what? That would never be the case in my family household. And, just hearing how other people's families are, once you get out of your bubble, can be so eye-opening. And also, to your point, like, it's not to say you might be completely blind about your family dynamics and not have any clue that nothing is wrong. Like, you may have those red flags popping up for you, but because of the gaslighting or the self-invalidation that we internalize from our family, we may not really give much weight to those red flags that have kept up our entire lives.
And I think we also, especially, like, I was just thinking about how, if you notice how other people may go to their parents for support, and you notice that, like, wait a minute, these people are, this feels natural to them. They have, like, there's some trust there. Like, it's actually helpful when they go to this parent or these parents for support, even as adults. And I myself, that's probably one thing that really stood out to me, was that I started to question, I'm like, why is that not true for me? Like, I had to start looking at that. And I had to start when you start questioning.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes you start questioning before you're really ready to see the truth.
Totally. I totally agree, or at least that's been my experience. Yeah, I think when you start questioning and you keep bumping up into the same themes, same questions over and over again, and you start getting more curious, and it starts, things start percolating.
Mm-hmm. And have you also, and this is another thing that I found interesting, is that have you noticed with clients that many times clients will come to you and you're working on like a current relationship, which is typically like a romantic relationship, a marriage or an ex-partner or something, that then they really get kind of shocked and blindsided by discovering that there actually is a narcissistic parent in the mix and they had no idea. And that
Totally. Totally. And I think that's how a lot of people come to this, come to me at least, is that they're reflecting on a romantic relationship, and and then they come to realize, oh wow, this is something that I actually grew up with. Because once you're awake to the dynamic, at least is the case with so many of my clients, then you can't unsee it. And it's quite common for folks to realize, oh, this is a dynamic that isn't just in one relationship or isn't just with my parents, but I may have other family members or friendships where the dynamic is dysfunctional or toxic or narcissistic, and I need to rethink my relationship system, my whole which can feel sort of my whole ecosystem. That's a great word.
It's true, and I just want to say, like, that can be really scary to people. But I also know that, like, you just take it one step at a time, right? Do you agree? Like, I
so agree.
And I think that's one thing that scares people off a lot is, like, this, there's all this talk on the internet about narcissism, and most of it is pretty sensationalized. There's a lot of talk about no contact. Yeah. People are terrified of that. Like, if I face this problem, I'm going to have to cut everyone out of my life. And that's just not true. It might be true, but not necessarily.
I so agree. Everyone's healing journey is so different, and what works for you may not work for me. I tell my clients this all the time. You don't have to go no contact. And that's not the point of healing. Healing is, I want to help you live a life that feels rich and meaningful to you, whether that's no contact, low contact, you're still in contact, fully, whatever it is. But we have to find what that answer is for ourselves. No societal or cultural norms can tell us what to do or what the right thing to do is. And it is possible to be healthy and have some contact with your parent and be on your healing journey. That's the case for me personally. I'm still in contact with my parent, and that's just what works for me and right now. And I can always change my mind in the future. Nothing's set in stone.
That's the key, isn't it? Is that I always talk about boundaries being flexible like the tide.
Yeah, I love that.
Sometimes the tide comes in and you have to move farther away. Sometimes it goes out and you can get closer, and it's dynamic. And I think really work is like giving ourselves permission to change our boundaries at any time based on our needs and our responses to what's happening in our environment, in our relationships.
Totally.
Permission, I guess.
Permission. Yeah, and not being so rigid with ourselves that, oh my gosh, I have to make the perfect decision. What do I do if that perfectionism, I think, is so common, can be so common for us to get it right. But, can we give ourselves permission to just take some risks and make a mistake? Or if it doesn't work for us, we can backtrack. We can change our mind. Boundaries can be flexible, like you said.
Yeah. And I love to jump in with this too, is permission to be wrong, because what if I'm wrong, right? What if I'm wrong about this? I know you've heard that. I know you've heard that so much, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes, that fear. What if I'm wrong? What if I made a mistake? And that is, it makes total sense. I think that's part of our conditioning, our programming. I need to be right. I need to make sure I make the right choices. Maybe that's how you grew up, developing that perfectionism as a way to navigate your surroundings. And that was probably a very helpful, adaptive coping mechanism to always make sure you were getting things right. Don't rock the boat. Don't make any waves. But if we continue to apply that perfectionism or those really high, unrelenting standards to ourselves in our healing journey, it's going to stifle us. And what if we approached ourselves with more compassion instead of that harshness, that criticalness, that shame of never make a mistake, you can't fail, you can't. It's that shame that we layer on to ourselves, which makes sense. We're just perpetuating the internalized messages that we got growing up.
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah, and I was going to ask you too, I mean, speaking of being worried about being wrong, with that in mind, about like it's okay, like permission to be wrong, but also, what do you think are some of the most common signs that you are possibly the adult child of a narcissist? I mean, just not like, I know there's tons of them, but what are like the main signs that people should really be paying attention to?
Oh gosh, this is such a good question, and it always kind of stumps me because it's such a big question, and it's usually never one or two things. It's always a confluence of factors. But I'll name a few things. Going back to what you said about questioning, listening to yourself. What are you questioning? What needs of yours are not being met in relationship with your parent? Are you feeling heard? Are you feeling seen? Are you feeling loved? Are you feeling cared for? Does your parent take responsibility for their behavior? Are they empathic? Are you able to, is there give and take in this relationship? Or does it feel like you're going to the hardware store for a loaf of bread where nothing's really changing? So I think there's factors to pay attention to externally, like related to your parent, but then there's also factors related to yourself internally. Do you struggle with self-doubt, insecurity, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not knowing having a sense of identity or who you are, feeling the need to produce or perform or scramble in order to earn other people's love or approval? Those are just a handful of things that my clients and I have struggled with. The list goes on and on. But those are some of the things that I've noticed. And I don't know if you would add anything to that. I'm sure there's plenty that I'm missing right now.
I know, right? There are so many, but I mean, and that's the funny thing too, is like, just because you have those, experiences doesn't mean you have a narcissistic parent. However, questioning, it's the questioning, because what if you find out, maybe there's some behaviors here that are narcissistic, right? But behaviors aren't necessarily like a pathology.
Mm-hmm.
No. But what if your parent has some narcissistic behaviors, but isn't like a narcissistic personality disorder, but the impact on you is the same?
Yeah.
So you still have to address the relationship as in it's not healthy. And, it's the internal work that we have to do, whether a person is a narcissist or they've got a mental health problem, or it's narcissistic injury or whatever, or CPTSD. But it's still our responsibility to take action on how we're contributing to the dynamic of it.
I think that is so beautifully said. So beautifully said. I think you're right. I don't think it matters whatever we call or label the unhealthy relationship or the relationship that isn't working for us, whether it's narcissism or anything else. Yeah, ultimately, the focus has to become us and what we want for our lives. And I think and figuring out, who do I want to be and what sort of a life do I want to live? And how do these relationships fit into that life that I want to build for myself? Are these relationships working for me? Are they not? Are my needs being met? Are they not? What changes do I need to make? So that's the work that I do with my clients in the group Reclaim You. It's all about reclaiming your sense of self, your purpose, your voice, and listening inward, listening to your voice that has probably been squelched or stifled or not even able to develop. But yeah, I love what you said. It doesn't matter whatever we label the relationship. It's how do we take responsibility for the dynamic, our part in that dynamic, and how do we move forward from that?
Yeah, totally. It's, and of course, and I think you do some inner child. I know you do some reparenting in your.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because that's but it's like, that is where the real healing happens, right? Between our inner adult and our inner child parts, that's where the power is that healing between those parts of ourselves. And then once we do the healing, like I said, it's not a destination, it's a journey. But once you get to like a level of healing with your inner child, it doesn't matter who's doing what in your environment. It can have like those behaviors. People can have any behaviors they want in your environment. Mm-hmm. And then you're basically free to have those boundaries and to interact or not interact with them anymore, right? It's our choice. It's a choice now.
Yes, it's a choice. And I think that is something that I see so many of my clients struggling with and I myself struggled with, not even realizing that we have a choice. And I think when we do realize that we have a choice, that can be such a powerful step in our healing journey, that actually we do have a choice. We do have some power here and control about how do I want to respond to what's going on. I don't have to just stay stuck in my default mode of staying stuck in this dynamic. There is a way out. There is a way to break the cycle. It takes hard work. But I think that's when we reclaim some of our power and own, I can do something differently here. I don't have to keep doing the same, reifying the same cycle, the same pattern over and over again. It's hard to do, but it is possible.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. I mean, I think it would be nice for us to talk about, like, what are the positive outcomes? Like, what do we get? Because I know it's hard work, right? It's a hard sell sometimes, but that's because the rewards are like invaluable when you do the work. I mean, can we talk about that a little bit too? Like what?
Yeah.
The work, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I think so many things, and we could spend days talking about what happens when you do the work, and everyone's journey is so different. But when we do the work, I think we get an opportunity to reclaim our lives, reclaim our sense of self, reclaim our peace. And for every person, that looks differently. What does reclaiming, you ask any person, what does reclaiming yourself mean to you? And you're going to hear 10 different responses. But the ability to become who you want to be, to step into your authentic self, to live a life that's truly aligned with your values, living for you instead of living for everyone else, or living the way that you think you have to live to gain everyone else's approval. It's breaking free of the chains of your programming and conditioning that have probably driven your life for so long. You've probably been a passenger in your own bus, but healing allows us to be the driver of our life.
Yeah, totally. The drive, right? Because then we actually have to stop and say, wait a minute, now where do I want to go?
Yeah.
I didn't even know I wasn't driving the bus. It takes
Yes.
I'm in the driver's seat. Where do I want to go?
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually, we take back, I think the process of healing is we take back our power and recognize that we do have control and choice.
Isn't that what everybody wants truly is like freedom and peace and feeling empowered, as in not being a victim.
Yeah.
Like, don't be a victim of your life.
Yeah. We don't have to be a victim of our life. We can step into our power. We can, it's a beautiful thing when I hear clients talk about how they never thought that they could have this life. They never thought that they could have the peace that they have. They might have had to do some really hard things like set boundaries and maybe go low or no contact. And they experienced a lot of pain. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of pain on this journey. But the freedom, the rewards of stepping into your authenticity and finding who you truly are, that's priceless.
It is. You're right. Everyone's got a different reason to. Like, for instance, I mostly work with other coaches, and the way they come to me is like they have business goals, right? And they, of course, because they have narcissistic trauma and other kinds of childhood trauma, right? Like their inner child is terrified to succeed, to be visible, to move, to move forward, to all those things. It's like, it's incredible how people will come to the work through different, like they have a desire for something, but they're spinning their wheels because of the kind of trauma this is. And so then they end up coming to me specifically for that. But it heals like all levels, not just, right? It's not like, then you realize, okay, it's not just about, oh, I want my business to be successful, but I want to be free. I just want to be free and feel peace in my life. And that, so that peace is everything.
Oh, yeah. Everything. Everything. Not just your familial relationships, your romantic relationships, your friendship, and your work life, who you are in the world at every level. Yeah, it's powerful work.
It's powerful work. Well, I would love to hear a little bit about, like, how can people get to you and find out more about your program, and maybe, follow you on some social medias, things like that.
Yeah, I can give you all that info. So my group is called, the website is reclaimyougroup.com. And I'm also on social media. It's just my name, Taylor Damiani, on Instagram. I have a Facebook group for adults of narcissistic parents, which I can also send to you.
Yeah, we'll post, all this will be in the description too, so it'll.
Okay. Yeah. And then I also have a newsletter if folks want to get regular emails from me, and I host summits too. That's a big way that folks get connected to me, is through the summits, and where I hold a couple each year, and just bring together a bunch of speakers.
There's one coming up too, isn't there?
There's one going to be coming up, and I don't exactly know the precise theme of it, but yes, keep an eye out. There's going to be one hopefully in the next coming months, like in April. And you are going to be a speaker, so excited.
So excited, yes. I can't wait. Well, whatever it's called and whatever the date is, it doesn't matter. Just be on the lookout, people.
Yeah, please join us. Yeah.
So why don't we, just because, like I said, we don't talk, like, we can talk for a long time, but we can just wrap up here. And I would really like to know if you could tell all the listeners in the audience, like, if there's one thing they could take away from listening to our conversation, what would you want it to be?
Oh my gosh. I think, I don't know if we touched on this, but one thing that's coming up for me is to believe that you have everything that you need to heal inside already, and that you don't need to go looking externally for something to complete you, to fill you up. You have it all inside of you. And that's not to say that you shouldn't go and ask for help, because help is so crucial to our healing. Therapy, coaching, groups, reading, podcasts, whatever it is. But believing that you have the internal resources, and to trust and believe that you have those resources and you have what it takes to heal inside already. That's just what's coming up for me right now, and just wanted to leave folks with that.
That is so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm so grateful for you, and I help so many people. So
thank you
for doing that work and putting yourself out there and sharing. And I know showing up, on social media, doing these summits and everything. I just really appreciate you.
Oh, you are so sweet. Thank you so much. And right back at you. The work that you're doing is amazing, and it is so much fun to connect with fellow people who are doing this work. And I feel a kindred connection to you and everyone else who does this work. It's heart work.
Yes.
It's heart-centered.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, everyone. And I hope you join us next time. And I hope you also be on the lookout for emails about the summit that's coming up. And we'll hopefully see you there. All right, everyone. May you be at ease and know joy. Bye.